8 ways to deal with rude and insulting people. Let's be honest, rude people are everywhere. In the grocery line, on social media, at family dinners, and sometimes painfully in the people we once trusted the most. It's not just their words that sting, it's the way they make us feel small, unseen, like we don't matter. But here's the truth, you do matter. And someone else's inability to speak with kindness is not a reflection of your worth. It's a mirror of their own chaos. Still, we're human. And when someone throws hurt our way, it's natural to want to fight back or shut down. But every time we respond from a place of pain instead of power, we let them win. Not because they were right, but because we let them change us. Let's not give our peace away so easily. You are allowed to feel hurt. You are allowed to feel angry. But you are not obligated to carry that pain forever. The goal is not to become cold. The goal is to become stronger without hardening, to respond, not react, to protect your peace without losing your softness. Because every rude word thrown your way is a test, not of your strength to shout back, but your courage to rise above it. So today I want to give you 8 grounded, powerful ways to deal with rude and insulting people. Not to change them, but to change how much control they have over your emotional life. Let's begin. There's a moment right after someone insults you that feels like a lightning strike. You feel your chest tighten, your jaw clench, your heart rate spikes. You want to react, say something back, defend yourself, because it hurts. It really deeply hurts. And that's human. But here's the trap. If you react immediately, you're reacting from the wound, not your wisdom. You're letting their chaos hijack your nervous system. That 1 second, that moment of impact, it's everything. Because what you do next decides whether the pain ends with them or continues with you. You see, people will say careless things. They'll project their insecurities, mask their shame in sarcasm, or weaponize words they know will cut you open. But you get to decide whether their energy becomes your reality. It starts with the pause, that sacred space between their action and your response. It doesn't look dramatic. It might be as simple as inhaling slowly and exhaling deeply. It might mean glancing away to collect yourself. It might mean staying silent when every cell in your body wants to scream. But that pause, that gentle, courageous pause, is everything. Because the pause says, I don't owe you my peace just because you gave me your pain. I can feel hurt, but I don't have to become hurtful. I am not here to match your energy. I'm here to honor mine. And sometimes the pause is not silence. Sometimes it's saying, I need a moment. Or this feels unkind and I'm not going to receive it right now. It's not weakness, it's emotional mastery. It's choosing to respond with clarity instead of react from confusion. Because when you pause, you don't just protect yourself from them. You protect yourself from becoming someone you're not. The world may praise quick comebacks and savage replies, but those don't bring healing. They bring more wounds. So next time someone throws words like knives, remember, you are not a target. You are a soul, and your soul deserves protection, not participation in someone else's war. The pause isn't passive. It's a quiet rebellion against everything trying to pull you out of alignment. It's the deepest kind of strength, the kind that doesn't need to fight to feel powerful. The kind that says, I choose me. It's hard, isn't it? When someone is rude or lashes out, the first thing many of us do, especially those with soft hearts, is wonder, did I do something wrong? We question ourselves. We replay the conversation. We shrink. We internalize. And somewhere deep inside, we start to believe the lie that maybe we caused their pain, or worse, that we deserved it. But here's what no one told you growing up. Other people's pain is not your fault. And their wounds are not your responsibility to fix, carry, or bleed for. There are people who walk around with decades of unresolved hurt. People who were never taught how to process emotions. Never allowed to feel safe. Never loved properly. And instead of healing, they harm, they poke, they project, they insult, they use their unhealed wounds like weapons. And if you're not careful, you'll spend your life trying to earn love from people who can't even see you through the fog of their own suffering. But hear this now, deeply and clearly. You are not a dumping ground for someone else's emotional neglect. You are not the sponge for their bitterness. You are not the cleaner of their emotional mess. It is not your job to make someone treat you with respect. It is not your burden to carry the trauma they refuse to face. It is not your role to be small so they feel powerful. Even if you love them, even if they're family, even if they're hurting. Compassion is beautiful, but compassion without boundaries becomes codependency. It becomes self-abandonment. And you weren't put here to abandon yourself for the comfort of others. You are allowed to say, I see your pain, but I won't let it poison me. I wish you healing, but I can't carry your wounds. Because healing is a choice. And it's not a choice you can make for someone else. Your peace matters. Your heart matters. And it's not noble to keep bleeding just to prove how strong you are. So let this be your permission. You are allowed to walk away from people who expect you to absorb what they refuse to release. You are allowed to stay rooted in your self-worth, even if someone else refuses to see it. Their behavior might be a reflection of their pain, but it is never a reflection of your value. Let's talk about something that so many of us struggle with: saying no without guilt. Because if you grew up in a home, or lived in a world, where being nice was praised more than being real, then chances are you were taught to endure more than you were taught to protect yourself. You were taught to keep the peace, to smile when you were hurt, to be the bigger person, to never cause a scene, even if someone was disrespecting you. But here's the truth: they never told you. Being kind doesn't mean being available to abuse. Being loving doesn't mean letting people walk all over you. And setting boundaries doesn't make you cold, it makes you healthy. When someone is rude or insulting, the world may expect you to either quietly take it or explode back. But there's a third option: boundaries spoken from truth, not trauma. You can say, "I don't accept being spoken to like that." Or, "I'm going to step away from this conversation because it's not respectful." You can hang up the phone. You can walk out of the room. You can unfollow, block, or stop replying. Not because you're cruel, but because you've decided to stop bleeding for people who only know how to cut. And yes, it might make them uncomfortable. Yes, they might call you selfish, dramatic, too sensitive. But that's not a reflection of your boundaries, it's a reflection of their entitlement to your emotional labor. Let's be clear: you do not owe anyone unlimited access to your time, your energy, or your spirit. You are not a resource to be used. You are a person to be respected. And if someone can't handle your boundary, it only proves why it was necessary in the first place. But I get it, guilt sneaks in, especially if you're empathetic, especially if you care. You start to think, maybe I'm being too harsh, maybe I should just let it go. But guilt is not always a signal that you're doing something wrong. Sometimes it's just a sign that you're doing something different, something healthier, something truer, something finally rooted in self-respect. Because boundaries are not walls to shut the world out. They are doors with locks, deciding who gets to come in and how far. You're not here to be everything to everyone. You're here to be true to yourself. And sometimes the most powerful act of self-love is looking someone in the eye, someone who has hurt you, and calmly saying, "No more." Not with anger, not with fear, but with the quiet, steady strength of someone who has finally decided, "I will not abandon myself to keep you comfortable anymore." You know that feeling, when one person's rude comment ruins everything. Maybe it was a coworker with a passive-aggressive jab. Maybe it was someone close to you who threw a low blow and walked away like it meant nothing. And suddenly your mood shifts. Your heart sinks. Your entire day feels heavy. You carry it with you, in your shoulders, in your silence, in your thoughts that won't stop spiraling. But here's something no one ever told us loud enough: you don't have to carry someone else's brokenness into your day. You don't have to hand over your peace just because they dropped their pain at your feet. Your emotions are valid. Your hurt is real. But how long you hold on to it is a choice. Yes, their words stung. Yes, they were out of line. But you get to choose whether that moment becomes your story or just a scene. You are allowed to pause and say, "That was about them, not me." Not every insult deserves a response. Not every jab needs a reaction. And not every person who enters your life deserves a seat at your emotional table. You see, there are people who thrive off control. People who push buttons just to see if they still work. People who feel powerful when they can make others feel small. But you don't have to be available for that anymore. When someone is rude to you, they're trying to transfer their burden. Don't pick it up. Don't replay the moment 1,000 times in your head. Don't carry their darkness like it's your identity. Instead, ask yourself, does this person's opinion reflect who I truly am? If the answer is no, let it go. Shake it off. Pray, meditate, journal, walk. Do whatever it takes to remind yourself you are bigger than that one moment. Because here's the truth: people are allowed to be unkind. And you are allowed to keep your joy anyway. Protect your peace like it's sacred, because it is. You worked hard for your healing. You fought for this version of yourself. Don't let someone's careless words undo that progress. The more grounded you become in your worth, the less power their behavior has over your day. You stop being reactive and start becoming resilient. You stop being consumed and start becoming centered. So the next time someone throws shade your way, remember, you are the weather, not the storm. Let their clouds pass by and return to your sunlight. There's a moment right after someone disrespects you where something inside wants to rise up and bite back. You want to match their tone, cut as deep as they did, prove that you're not weak, that you won't be disrespected, that you can play this game too and win. And you could. You absolutely could. You could fire back with something that hits them right in the gut. You could mirror their energy, burn the bridge, and walk away with your head held high. But let me ask you this: Would that feel like strength, or would it just feel like survival? See, there's a difference between defending your truth and reacting from your ego. Ego wants to protect us. It's loud, defensive, ready for war. But truth is grounded. Truth is calm. Truth doesn't need to shout because it's not trying to convince anyone, it just is. When someone is rude or insulting, you don't owe them silence. But you also don't owe them your peace. You can speak. You should speak. But speak from a place that's rooted in your self-worth, not your woundedness. Say what needs to be said, without becoming what hurt you. You can look someone in the eye and say, "What you said felt disrespectful, and I won't continue this conversation if it stays like that." You can say, "I hear you, but I won't allow you to speak to me that way." That's not ego. That's truth, that's clarity, that's choosing your values over your impulses. When you speak from ego, you might win the moment. But when you speak from truth, you win your soul back. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all, because not every fire deserves your breath. Sometimes walking away is the loudest truth you can offer. So next time you're faced with disrespect, ask yourself, what would my healed self say right now? Not your bitter self, not your bruised self, but your healed, wise, powerful self. Because that version of you, she doesn't need to clap back to feel worthy. He doesn't need to win an argument to feel strong. They don't need to stoop low to stand tall. They just speak truth. And truth doesn't need armor, it just needs courage. You've been through too much to let anyone steal your peace again. You've cried yourself to sleep. You've carried pain that didn't belong to you. You've stayed quiet just to keep the peace, while your own heart broke inside your chest. But now you know better. And when you know better, you have to do better. Even if it feels uncomfortable. Even if it means disappointing people who were never invested in your well-being to begin with. Because your peace, your inner stillness, your emotional stability, your clarity is sacred. And it's your responsibility to protect it. Not everyone gets to be in your space. Not everyone deserves front row access to your life. And not every energy belongs near your nervous system. That doesn't make you rude. That doesn't make you cold. That makes you intentional. You don't need to explain yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You don't need to stay in spaces that feel heavy the moment you walk in. You don't need to respond to every message, every insult, every invitation that pulls you away from yourself. Because peace isn't found in silence. It's found in alignment. It's the feeling you get when you stop betraying yourself to be liked, to be accepted, or to avoid conflict. It's the steady breath you take when you honor what your soul has been begging you to do all along. Let go. Walk away, unplug, rest, say no, stay soft, but safe. You were not created to live in defense mode. You weren't made to constantly recover from emotional bruises that someone else keeps handing out. There is no prize for being the most tolerant. There is no medal for being the most forgiving while you crumble inside. So protect your peace like it's holy. Because it is. It's your birthright. It's the thing you fought to find after years of noise, chaos, and pretending to be okay. And when someone comes at you with their drama, their cruelty, their sharp edges, you don't have to fight them. You just step back. You disengage. You say, "I'm not available for this energy, not today, not anymore." Because peace isn't passive. Peace is power. And anyone who tries to take that from you doesn't belong near you. Conclusion: you get to choose who you become in the face of cruelty. Let's be real for a moment. Rude and insulting people aren't going away. They'll still show up in traffic, at work, in your family, sometimes in the mirror. Because the world is full of people who never learned how to love themselves without tearing others down. But here's the difference now. You're no longer handing them the keys to your worth. You've learned that not everything deserves a reaction. You've learned that your peace is more important than your pride. You've learned that boundaries are not walls, they're bridges back to yourself. And maybe for the first time, you're seeing clearly. You are not here to absorb the weight of everyone's unhealed wounds. You are not here to sacrifice your soul for someone else's comfort. You are not here to prove yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You are here to protect your energy, to stand in your truth, and to lead with love, but love with limits. Let them talk. Let them roll their eyes. Let them think what they want. You're not here to manage their perception. You're here to manage your peace. So when someone disrespects you, you don't shrink anymore. You don't explode either. You simply breathe. You ground. You remember, I am not responsible for their behavior, but I am responsible for how I treat myself in the aftermath. That's growth. That's power. That's what healing looks like. So protect your peace like it's sacred. Speak from truth, not ego. Set your boundaries, and walk away if you need to, without guilt, without explanation, and without looking back. because you deserve to live in a world that reflects the love, clarity, and respect you've spent your whole life learning to give. And that world, it starts with you.